Good afternoon, all my friends out there in the YouTube comic community. Comic Order 410 here. Doing my video entry for HeroHunter81's 500 subscriber contest. And Clint, I just noticed you're actually above 550 subscribers, so congratulations. You deserve so much more. Hero Hunter is one of the mainstays of this comic community, truly a cornerstone. Just a nice guy, always positive and respectful and nice to everyone. Class act. Great videos, great collection, great knowledge. He shows the books in details. Clint mainly collects key issues, and I like to call him, the king of keys. He's the key master, like Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters. I'm always ready to have to jot something down when I'm watching one of Hero Hunter's videos. He gives me so many ideas on first appearances and keys I didn't know about that I decided to get. And, Clint, you're the first one that I saw talk about that Quasar Error issue, which my good buddy Fool Killer sent me a copy of. So, I always learn a lot from your videos, Clint. And as a matter of fact, this is a great contest, a great idea for a contest. I've learned a lot of good keys from the great people who subscribe to you who've made entry videos for this contest. I've learned about some good keys I'm going to pick up from them. So, great idea, great prizes. I'm excited. Congratulations, man. You deserve it. Going to get started here. I went a little overboard, Clint, so I sort of cut myself off, and believe it or not, I did try and narrow it down here. So, going to start off with an obvious one, Batman the Killing Joke. This story's so important. Joker cripples Batgirl, one of the greatest comic stories ever told, in my opinion. An absolute masterpiece from Alan Moore and Brian Boland. It was critically acclaimed and in demand from the day it hit the racks. And ever since has been mentioned as one of the greatest books, especially of the modern era. And this book was so popular, they did something like 12 or 15 printings of this. I mean, it's ridiculous. And with that said, you'd think first printings would go for a lot. And, I'm talking, when I talk about the price, I'm going to mention the Overstreet near mint book value, even though a lot of books, because the Overstreet only comes out once a year, it's what many people use, including myself, but a lot of times you have to look at what stuff is selling for online actual sales, because Overstreet only comes out once a year. But Overstreet guide value for near mint copy of The Killing Joke is, sorry, I wrote it down here, $25. Good luck finding a 9.2 first printing for 25 bucks. I'd say you'll probably pay closer to 40 or 50 real world for a near mint first printing, but I think even that's worth it. Killing Joke is a must read for not just any Batman fan, any comic fan. Big G.I. Joe fan, showed this a couple times recently. Mainstay of the 80s. There's a lot of high-grade copies of G.I. Joe #1 floating around because they used high-quality Baxter paper and high-quality cover stock, which is why it was $1.50, which was a lot for a comic book in 1982. But a lot of high-grade copies of this. But near mint value in a 9.2 of G.I. Joe #1, according to Overstreet, 50 bucks. And you might even get it cheaper than that. Infinity Gauntlet and a lot of the other 80s DC and Marvel mega events many of them are must reads, but undervalued. Infinity Gauntlet #1 Overstreet value is 20 bucks. Probably get it cheaper. Other ones I didn't pull out that I think I need to mention: Marvel Secret Wars #1, $15 near mint. Crisis on Infinite Earth, all those are a little bit undervalued. That's a definite must read. Crisis #1 book value 18 bucks. You can probably get those cheaper than book value too. Moving on, ElfQuest #1. Sorry, my dog's waking up. ElfQuest #1, very popular in the 80s. The Warp Graphics magazines are worth a little bit because they're a lot more rare, but Marvel's Epic line started reprinting them in 85. And ElfQuest #1 from Marvel, book value, that's 4 bucks. You can probably get this book 10 bucks at the most. But you could probably find a copy for $5. This is a must-read, in my opinion, too. Mark Waid and Barry Kitson's Empire #1. Image did 2 issues and never finished the mini. DC finished it, reprinted all 6, 1 and 2, and finished the rest of the 6-issue mini. It's a must-read. If you get the 6 issues of the trade, you've read the entire Empire saga. Fantastic Mark Waid writing, fantastic Barry Kitson art, great story, and in addition, they said they're going to revisit the Empire universe and do another mini. So it could generate interest in this again. Book value on the more rare Image ones, $4. You probably won't find them for that, but they shouldn't be more than $10 or $15, and highly recommend picking up Empire. Ghost Rider Volume 3, Number 1. This came out in 1990, was red hot with art by Javier Solters. Introduced the new Daniel Ketch Ghost Rider. Near mint value on this in Overstreet 9.2, $10. You can definitely find this book for under $20. Definitely recommend it. This book is criminally undervalued and under-noticed. Green Lantern 51. First appearance of Kyle Rayner, and as Kyle Rayner as the Green Lantern. This book, near mint value according to Overstreet, $4. You can certainly find this book under $10. Grendel, Volume 2, Number 1. The first volume of Grendel only went 3 issues. The low print run, very expensive. Volume 2, Number 1, near mint, Overstreet value, $9. You can find this book $10 or cheaper. One of my personal favorites, Sergio Aragone's Gru the Wanderer. This is probably Sergio's most important and well-known work, and I think it's pretty undervalued, with that being said. This is the first series, the Pacific, if you can even call it a mini. This is Pacific Gru Number 1. Book value of this, $28. If you can find it for that, pick it up. You'll probably pay closer to $30 or $40, but even at that price, I think it's a great value. Again, Marvel's Epic line picked up Gru as well in 1985. And this was the longer running, probably most well known of the Gru books. And Marvel's Gru Number 1, near mint value, $18. Certainly you can get this book $20 or less, and it's a steal at that price. Big Alan Moore fan. Even though the movie butchered it, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is a good book, and I think it's undervalued. According to Overstreet, Number 1 in near mint's worth $12. Good luck finding it for that. You'll probably pay $20 to $30, but even at that price, I think it's a little undervalued. Great series. Lone Wolf and Cub from First Comics, Number 1, 1987. This is the first American printings of the Japanese. This is the benchmark for all Japanese samurai tales, and Frank Miller did the intros, and he did the covers up through like maybe 15 or 20 something. Great covers, and this book is an amazing read. It was pretty hot in the 80s when it came out, and it sold well enough that they had to do a second printing. I don't know what the first printing's print run was, but book value on Number 1 of this, $10, and you can get it for that. Marvels by Kurt Busiek and Alex Ross. And, you know, when people who don't read comics ask me what to read, I recommend, like, Kingdom Come or Marvels, even though Mark Waid wrote Kingdom Come. These are kind of, like, amazing, huge tales from DC and Marvel that don't really require people to have a whole lot of background other than know, all right, this is Spider-Man, this is Captain America. You know, you don't really have to have a whole lot of background knowledge, and they're just amazing stories. So, I didn't pull out Kingdom Come, but Marvel's Number 1, book value $8. You can get it for probably $10, $15. Kingdom Come Number 1, book value $10. They're steals and must-reads. This might be the most criminally undervalued and overlooked book out of all the ones I picked. This series is from either 04 or 05, and this is Marvel Team Up Number 1. And this entire series, which went 20-some issues, was written by Robert Kirkman, the creator of Walking Dead. He didn't do much hero work outside of Image, but for Marvel, he did this entire Marvel Team-Up series, and he did the Irredeemable Ant-Man series. I highly recommend both of them. Neither one's that expensive. They both went under the radar. I bought the full run of this. None of them are that expensive. Book value on Robert Kirkman's Marvel Team-Up Number 1, $3. You won't find it for that, but you can definitely get this for $10, $15. It's a steal. Great, great overlooked stuff from Robert Kirkman there. Nightwing #1. This is a solo series debut. This is #1 of the 4-issue miniseries. $5 in near mint according to Overstreet. You might pay 10 or 15, but still worth it. Here's another really undervalued key issue. This is Omega Men #3. And despite how crappy he looks, this is the first appearance of Lobo by Keith Giffen. And Lobo was a red-hot character in the 90s. He's cooled off a lot, but this book never really went up that much, even during the height of his popularity. A near mint value on this, according to Overstreet, $12. You can definitely get this book for under $20. First appearance of Lobo. During my contest and, Spidey Fan 78 CT's contest that's going on now, a lot of people cited these Punisher miniseries covers as some of their favorite covers, and I agree. Every one of these Zach Zimmelman covers is a masterpiece. And Punisher #1, his miniseries, especially for being a $1.25 cover price oversized issue, I think is criminally undervalued. I hate to keep using that word, but it is. And I like to compare it, like, Wolverine and Punisher were two of the hottest characters in comics in the late 80s. And when you look at what their minis are worth, it's not that comparable. Even though, you could say, well, hey, Wolverine's first appearance is worth almost twice as much as, or is worth twice as much as the Punisher. So, regardless, Punisher miniseries #1 near mint book value according to Overstreet, $35. You might pay closer to 50, but I think it's even worth that for a near mint copy. Wolverine #1, I think it was a few years, maybe a year or two earlier than the Punisher mini, but #1, similar characters, similar success, similar time. That book is worth more than double at $75. So I think Punisher #1's definitely worth 35 or 50 bucks if you see one. This is an often overlooked book, Ragman #1, written and drawn and created by Joe Kubert. And this is his first appearance and origin of Ragman. And book value on this is $20. I got 1 through 5 or 1 through 6 for like $25 or $30 for all of them. So definitely not worth that much, and it's a great work by one of the true masters of the comic medium. Red Sonja. Somebody, a couple guys were remarking about how unfortunately, a lot of great female characters like She-Hulk and a few others, their books just aren't worth what they should be. They don't get the credit that they deserve, a lot of these great female characters. And in my opinion, Red Sonja is one of the best. And this is her first series of Red Sonja Volume 1, #1. Awesome Frank Thorne cover. This book, guide value, near mint, $30. And you might even get it cheaper than that. I got this copy for $15 a couple years ago. So, very undervalued. I didn't pull out Red Sonja, Marvel's Red Sonja #1 from Volume 2, but I do have it. It's got a John Romita Jr. cover, I want to say. I might be wrong about that, but that book, near mint book value, $10. And this is Volume 3, #1, and $5 book value in Overstreet. I got this, that orange sticker's on there, because I got this in a 50-cent box last week. Unbelievable. I got 1, 2, 3, and 4 out of 50-cent boxes. So Red Sonja is a really cool character. Lots of great Conan crossovers with her. And her books are really cheap to collect, and a lot of great reading and a great character who you can pick up a nice run of for dirt cheap. And I think those books should be worth more. That's my opinion. Even her first appearance is a little undervalued. Another book that I'm a big fan of that's really undervalued, Saga of the Swamp Thing #1. This is a great series. Alan Moore comes on later and really turned it up on this series, but near mint book value of this, according to Overstreet, $8. You can probably find this book, definitely find it for under 20. You could probably find it $10 or less. Amazing Spider-Man 294. I recommend reading this whole 6-parter, Kraven's Last Hunt, if you haven't. It's amazing stuff. But Part 5, issue 294 of Amazing Spider-Man is where Kraven kills himself, and Overstreet near mint value is $15 on this book. You can probably get it for about that. I wouldn't say this book's as undervalued as it has been. For many, many years, this book was about 50 or 60 bucks. And a lot of people have gone back and started getting Amazing 298 and 299, and 299 especially has gone up a little more. But $298 currently books at $75 in near mint, but when you look at the other, I guess you could say sort of common Todd McFarlane issues, like later appearances of Venom and Green Goblin, when they're going for $20 and $25, you'd think his first issue would go for more than $75, but it is one of those books that's starting to get the attention and values it deserves. Because like a few years ago, you know, I was saying the same thing about, you know, like first Alan Moore Swamp Thing number 20, Watchmen number 1, first appearance of Bullseye, and they've all gone up a bit in the past 2 years. So another key that I think's undervalued, possibly because there's a high print run, a lot of high grade copies probably exist. Amazing Spider-Man 361. This is the first appearance of Carnage. Near mint book value $16. You can certainly get that 20 or less. Scott X recently showed this gorgeous Charles Vess painted cover as one of his favorite covers, and I agree. This might be my favorite image of Spidey in his black costume era. Just gorgeous Charles Vess painting. And this is Web of Spider-Man number 1. Near mint guide value $18. Absolute steal at that price, in my opinion. This is one of the ones that's also gone up a bit. I was going to include this. I told Clint when I got it a couple years ago, it was worth like $150, $180. This is Jimmy Olsen, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, 134, first appearance of Darkseid. This book isn't undervalued. It's one of those ones that's gone up the past couple of years. This year in the guide, it's $300, and it should be $300 or $400 for the first Darkseid. I didn't pull it out, but also want to mention Forever People number 1. That's like $100, $110 book in near mint, and that's the first full appearance of Darkseid, and that is undervalued in my opinion. But moving on, Terminator Burning Earth. Oh, this is number 2. I meant to grab number 1. Oh well. Well, I have all 5 of them. Number 1 is Alex Ross's first published comic work, so that's the one you want to look for. But these are all cool, great covers. You can see he signed it Alexander there. But all these covers are great, and I think it's issue 5 is a red cover, like you're looking through the lenses of the Terminator. It has all the digital readouts and numbers and letters and digits on the left, and if you kind of read the letters backwards on the left and take out the digits in between and read it backwards, Alex Ross put a hidden message in there, now comics blows, because he was unhappy about what he was getting paid. And so Terminator Burning Earth, Alex Ross' first published work and last published work for Now Comics. These books may not be undervalued now with the hype surrounding the new movie, because a lot of Thanos stuff is hot now, but for years, this is my favorite story, the Thanos Quest, the Thanos Quest, by the great Jim Starlin and Ron Lim. And this leads into the Infinity Gauntlet. It's a must-read. For years, I thought these were undervalued. According to Overstreet, book value on 1 and 2 is $12. Good luck finding them for that. You just won't. You'll probably pay closer to 20 to 30, maybe even more now with the movie being hyped for these. But excellent books, must read, and they've been undervalued for years. People just don't want to sell their copies. Another great one, Usagi Yojimbo number 1 from Fantagraphics. Stan Sakai has consistently been putting out solid work about this character for 30 years straight. And Dark Horse is the closest thing he's come to a major publisher, and I think that's worthy of note. When you look at what Usagi's first appearance in Albedo is worth, issue number 1 of his Fantagraphic series from either, 86 or 87, book value is $12 in near mint. Absolute steal at that price. You might pay 20, but even then, totally worth it. Stan Sakai is a great, great person. And Usagi had a lot of important tie-ins with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the 80s. But moving on, this is Vampirella Volume 2. The first volume were all magazine size, and a lot of them, even the later issues, are pretty expensive. But this is the first comic size series, and this is done by Harris from 1992. This book was red hot in the 90s. Gorgeous cover by Adam Hughes. This book, according to Overstreet, $20. You might pay 40 or 50 for it, but even that's worth it for that great book. Also from Harris, Vengeance of Vampirella. This was also really hot in the 90s. And this cover is done by current Marvel editor-in-chief Joe Quesada. Book value on Vengeance of Vampirella, $8. You can get this 10 or under. Definitely worth picking up. Excuse me. This book is grossly, grossly overlooked and undervalued. Wanted #1 by Mark Millar with great J.G. Jones artwork. This book is much better than the movie. Fantastic read. According to Overstreet, #1 of this, $4. You might not find it that cheap, but you can get this book 10 or 15 bucks. Totally worth it. Great story. One of my favorite, most overlooked DC characters, Mike Grell's Warlord. #1 of the Warlord, according to Overstreet, $50 in near mint. And this book, because the character's not as popular as some, you can often find Warlord books cheaper than book value. Like I did with this one, DC First Issue Special #8. This is the first appearance of the Warlord. Near mint book value on this is 75 bucks. This is probably a very fine to very fine plus. And I got this book for like $20 to $25. You can definitely, good books you can get under book value probably right now because they're not that popular. Fantastic series that I always loved, What If. What if the stories were so mind-blowing they could kill characters, they could make whatever changes they wanted because it was outside of continuity, And this set the standard for, we wouldn't have any DC Elseworld tales or Star Wars Infinities books without these What Ifs comics. They were groundbreaking, fantastic stories. I loved most of them. This book is very, very undervalued. According to Overstreet, What If #1, $40 and a near mint 9.2. This book is totally worth it at that price. Ridiculous. The last book I'm going to show here is X Factor 15, and even X Factor #1, you can get that book for $5 or $10, which is insane. But X Factor number 15 here, guide value is $3 on this book, and I found this in a dollar bin. And as you might be able to tell by this Walt Simonson cover, this is the issue where Angel loses his wings, which starts his transformation by Apocalypse into Archangel. And you can get this book for $3 or less. So, sorry this video ran a little long, but Clint, I really, really got into your contest, man. I enjoyed it, and I'm enjoying watching the vids. Thank you for all your contributions to the community, Clint. Thank you for putting on this contest with these awesome prizes. Really cool of you, man. Congrats on the subs. Good luck to you in the future. Everyone else, thank you as always for taking the time to watch. I always appreciate it. Take care of yourselves. Have a good one, and happy comic reading.